The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Hi all, I am your Bindu teacher. I hope all of you know me, right? I have taught you in 6th standard. As Archana teacher is on leave, I will be handling the rest of the chapter, that is chapter 8, Breath and Blood of Life. In the first video session, we learnt about the respiratory system, where we take in oxygen or air, and in that oxygen passes through the nostrils, it passes through the windpipe, or we call it as trachea, and after that it reaches the bronchi and then it reaches the lungs. So this is how we breathe, right? So the tube where the air enters is called as tracheal tube. Actually there are two tubes. One is the windpipe or the tracheal tube, and the other one is esophagus or the foot tube. It is found just behind the tracheal tube. Often what happens is, when we take food inside, when you consume food, what happens is some of the food particles may enter into the tracheal tube. So what happens? We will start choking, which is also a very dangerous situation. So what do we do in that situation? So we are going to see about that. What happens when food particles enter the tracheal tube? So food particles are supposed to enter into the foot tube, that is esophagus. Instead, if it enters the tracheal tube, you will start choking and the results might be fatal. You will stop respiring. So what can we do for that? In that situation, we have a picture in your textbook which shows the first aid for such situations. What do? You have to hold the abdomen area, that is just behind the rib cage. You have to hold the person who has started choking. One palm should be folded and the other palm should be placed above the first palm, and you should start pushing. So what happens? You will get a relief from this situation. In case of infants, which often happens, you would have seen babies, while feeding the babies, they might choke. So what happens? What do you do in such situation? You should place the infants facing downward on your lap and then tap on the shoulder bones. So immediately you might get a relief from such situations. Actually, the situation might look simple, but it might lead to fatal results. So immediate first aid is required in such situations. So this is what happens often when we choke. So what should you do? When you consume your food, you should chew the food well, so that it directly goes to the foot tube instead of the tracheal tube. Okay children? Children, we have seen the respiration in human beings. How about animals? Animals have a diversity in their respiration. We are going to check some animals and their respiratory systems. Okay? The first one is amoeba. There is particularly no respiratory system in amoeba. So air diffuses inside. Diffuses means gets inside and outside through the cell membrane. So amoeba is a unicellular organism. I hope you remember that. So there is no particular respiratory organism. Air diffuses inside and outside through cell membrane. The next one is earthworm. How does earthworm respire? Earthworm also doesn't have a respiratory system. The skin is its respiratory system. That is why the earthworm is always seen in moist soil. അല്ലേ, നമ്മൾ തെങ്ങിൻ ചോട്ടിലൊക്കെ കാണുമ്പോൾ കാണാം earthworm ഒക്കെ കാണാം. So there the soil is moist. That is why the earthworm always is seen in the moist soil so that it can respire through its skin. Okay. How about insects? Well, in all insects, small holes are found in the sides of their body. Okay, and these holes are connected with tubes, and these tubes function as respiratory system for the insects. Okay, so these small openings which are connected with tubules function as respiratory system for almost all insects. Okay, children. How about the respiratory system in fishes? Yes, how do fishes respire or breathe? Well, we all know that fishes respire through gills. So the oxygen from the atmosphere is taken through the gills, and this oxygen mixes with the blood and it helps to respire. Okay, the fishes respire in such a manner. But some fishes often you see in aquariums or in ponds also, the fishes coming to the surface of the water and opening their mouths. Why do they do that? Do you know why they do that? Well, they do that because it is a temporary mechanism of some fishes, only some fishes. They can respire through mouth also apart from the gills. So it is a temporary mechanism. Only very few fishes do this. For example, catfish and snakehead fish, that is varalamine. Okay, these two fishes are the variety which respire through mouth other than gills. They use gills as well as mouth. The breathing through mouth is only a temporary mechanism. How about a frog? As you all know, children, frog is an amphibian which lives both on land and in water. So when the frog is in land, is living on land, it respires through lungs just like us. But when it is in water, it respires through skin. So these are some of the varieties or the diversities of respiration seen in animals. Okay, children, I hope you understood. Now let's go into the next topic where we find two children, Sunu and Vinu. Yes, you can see them. Say, what are they talking? Sunu says that plants never take in oxygen, they take only carbon dioxide. Yes, plants require carbon dioxide for their respiration, whereas only animals or all other living things, they take in oxygen. But look at Vinu. What is Vinu saying? Vinu says it's not correct. Plants also require oxygen other than carbon dioxide. So which of this statement is true? Yes, Vinu is correct because plants also require oxygen for their respiration. Yes, apart from all the other living beings, plants also respire by taking in oxygen. But the amount of oxygen required by plants is very less when compared to human beings. Relatively, the rate of respiration is low when compared to that of animals. Okay, children. So plants also require oxygen for their respiratory process. How do they respire? We have already studied that plants respire through small holes which are found in leaves. We call them as stomata. So plants also take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Actually, this carbon dioxide is later on used for photosynthesis. So plants take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide through small pores called stomata. Okay, so what is the gaseous exchange which happens here? Yes, oxygen and carbon dioxide cycle is being consistently maintained here. Okay, children. So what are the two gases which exchanges in respiration? That is oxygen and carbon dioxide. Children, we have learned about respiration in humans, living beings as well as in plants. Respiration actually involves a gaseous exchange, that is Oxygen is taken inside and carbon dioxide is released. What actually happens? Who is helping in all these? We will learn that through a flow chart. So, from the atmosphere, air is taken by the lungs. From the air, oxygen is filtered out and it is released to blood. So, blood is the one who carries the oxygen to each and every cell in the body. So, this cell releases carbon dioxide which is carried by the blood again and then taken to the lungs, and lungs releases out the carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So, who is the star here? So, it is blood. So, blood is the one who carries oxygen to each and every part of the body, and it also helps in releasing out the carbon dioxide from the body. Actually, the food you eat is broken down into different nutrients by the intestine system. These nutrients are also carried out by the blood, carried out to different parts of the body by blood. Who helps in breaking down these food components? It is oxygen who helps in breaking down these food components into different nutrients, and these nutrients are carried by blood to different parts of the body. So, we should definitely study about blood. Is the blood red in color for all the living organisms? So, we shall study in detail about the blood. In human beings, the blood is red in color. Why? Because of the presence of hemoglobin. So, hemoglobin is the one which gives red color to the blood. Hemoglobin is a compound of iron and protein. So, hemoglobin plays a significant role in the gaseous exchange of all living organisms, especially human beings. So, how does this transportation, that is transportation of nutrients or exchange, gaseous exchange, how does this happen in other living organisms? Do they all have red blood? Children, have you noticed the spider has blue color blood? So, we will analyze the different colored blood in different organisms. How about insects? Yes, transportation does take place in insects through a fluid, but the fluid is not red in color. The blood is doesn't have any particular color. So, transportation does take place in insects, but they don't have a blood, that is red colored blood. It actually happens in the presence of a fluid which is present in insect's body. How about unicellular organisms? What are unicellular organisms? Organisms with single cell like amoeba, euglena, paramecium, these are all unicellular organisms, right? So, in these cases or in these unicellular organisms, there is no blood. Instead, the transportation takes place through cytoplasm, which is a fluid present inside the cell. So, they also do not have a red colored blood. Instead, transportation takes place through a fluid or cytoplasm which is present inside the cell. We have a box which is given in your textbook which talks about hippopotamus. Actually, when you observe hippopotamus, you can see red colored sweat on the skin of the hippopotamus. So, actually is it blood? No, it is not blood, it is actually sweat which is released by the skin of the animal to destroy the pathogens which is found beneath the skin. What are pathogens? Pathogens are disease causing microorganisms. Okay? So, to destroy these pathogens, they release out the sweat which is red in color. So, often we misunderstand it for blood. Actually, it is not blood, it is sweat. Children, now shall we observe a blood cell? Yes, this is a blood cell. What are the different parts you see in blood cell? Red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets and plasma. White blood cells are of 5 types which we will learn in higher classes. Plasma nearly contains 90% of water. So, 90% of water is present only in plasma. So, blood contains a lot of water. So, you will study more about this in higher classes. Okay? So now we have studied about the blood. Shouldn't we study about the blood circulatory system? Yes. Look at the picture given here. This is the blood circulatory system, which is vast. Actually, the blood circulates from the heart to all parts of the body and in reverse too, from all parts of the body to the heart. The blood circulatory system is found everywhere in the body. So, what does this blood circulatory system consist of? What are the different parts? Obviously, the blood, heart and the blood vessels. The blood vessels constitute of veins, arteries and capillaries. Okay children? The most important part of blood circulatory system is heart. What can you say about heart? Heart has the shape of a fist. You keep your thumb inside, this is your fist. So, this will be the size of your heart. Okay? It is protected by thorax and it has a small outer part called pericardium. It has 4 chambers. So, every human heart has 4 chambers. More details you will be studying in higher classes. Well, do all animals have 4 chambers in their heart? See, a small picture is given in your textbook. Look at that. Yes. An earthworm has 5 pairs of lateral heart. A cockroach has 13 chambered heart. A fish has 2 chambered heart. A lizard has 3 chambered heart. A crocodile has 4 chambered heart. And birds also have 4 chambered heart. So, this is the diversity of chambers seen in heart for various animals. Okay. Now, what is this? You would have seen all this. It's a stethoscope. Often when we visit a doctor, we are checked with using a stethoscope. So, who discovered this? René Laennec. There is a box given there in your textbook. Read that children. So, an activity is also given based on that. So, you can make a stethoscope. You do this activity at home whenever you find time. Okay. Children, what else do you know about human heart? Actually, when the embryo is 22 days old inside a mother's womb, it starts beating and it ends with death. So, the heart keeps on pumping right from the 22nd day of human embryo inside a mother's womb. Wonderful, right? So, how much care we should give for the heart? Actually, human beings are destroying the pumping, that is the mechanism of this heart, by taking lots of unwanted junk food, etc. So, be careful what you eat and be sportive and very fit also, fit and active, so that the heart works properly, isn't it? Actually children, often we fall down and we get wound or injury. So, what happens? The blood starts flowing. How do you stop that blood? It has to be stopped. Or how do you clean the wound? You show it under tap water, clean it with clean water, and if the blood doesn't stop, apply, cover it with a clean cloth or bandage and take immediately to hospital. So, the blood flow has to be stopped. If it doesn't stop, you have to rush to the hospital to take proper medication. So, we have completed the chapter here. We will move to textual questions. I hope you are all holding the textbook. Whenever teacher teaches you, keep the textbook in your hand so that you will understand better. So, we will move to the first question. Which of the following is not a part of breathing process? Air pressure in the lungs increases. Actually, air pressure increases in the thorax region, not in the lungs. So, that is wrong. Air sacs expand, it is right. The diaphragm lowers, which is also right, and the thorax contracts, which is also right. So, A is wrong. Put a cross over there. So, which of the following is done first while giving first aid to a person whose trachea gets blocked? So, what should you do? Give water to drink? Not at all. Sprinkle water on the face? No use. Make him or her sit on a chair, which is also wrong. Remove the block. That is why you should remove the block by the two instructions which were seen in the picture. Okay. Arrange in order the illustration of the parts of human respiratory system. So, what what will be the arrangement? Nostrils, trachea, bronchi and lungs. Isn't it correct? Right. So, I have concluded the chapter here. More questions will be sent to you through WhatsApp. Let me discuss with Archana teacher. Okay. We will meet you in the next video session. Bye children. Take care.